What's up, Inky peeps? It's Adele from Inky Quill, and today I'm up with sketch challenge number 4. So this one I have decided to do a multiple photo layout, and because I'm using 4x6 photos, it's a little bit squishy, but we're going to make it work. I'm going through this paper collection from Pink Fresh, and I know I've talked about this collection before. I freaking love it. I think my favorite thing about it is how bright white the papers are. I think because I'm used to the creamy tones of crepe paper, I'm really enjoying using some very, very white, crispy pages. So I was trying to figure out what background paper I wanted to do here. And you can see in the sketch, I've only got a single photo in the sketch, but of course, as I've shown you before, you can flip it and flop it and manipulate it to suit how many photos you've got, what size layout you've got, and today I've got 2 photos. So I started off with this paper, and I thought I was going to use it, but then I saw this paper, and I'm not quite sure where we were traveling. It probably was just to our local shopping centre, to tell you the truth, so not a giant adventure. But these pics are of Arch in the car, and I really wanted to use these adventure-y type papers while I had a purpose to. At this point, I think I had scrapped all of my Melbourne trip. There is a couple of process videos for that. I think there's one actually coming up on, or has just gone onto YouTube, a Project Life process. But I wanted to try and use up these adventure papers while I had them, and I thought that a car is a good a good symbol of an adventure. So for the top here, I'm just layering a few bits of paper, and if I really wanted to, I could have saved half of that geotag paper and not use the whole sheet, but my baby brain is not letting me measure things properly at the moment. And there's one layout that I make, I don't know if it's been up yet, but I completely stuffed up and cut all of the papers too short and had to refix it, and it was just a big schmozzle. So I'm trying not to save paper and just trying to get them done in the easiest way for my brain to function right now. So I felt like I needed something something that wasn't so color coordinated with this collection, and I grabbed this wood grain from my stash. I have a lot of these strips left over because of course most of my layouts are 9x12s or 8.5x11s, and so I'm usually left with a 3-inch or so strip of paper, which are actually really handy for layouts like this, where you want to have several bits of paper layered up and make it look like they're whole pieces, but they're really not. They're just hiding. So just fighting with my double-sided tape as per the usual. And I'm trying to figure out as well how much journaling I'm going to be able to fit in. I wasn't quite sure with the size of these photos if I was going to fit much journaling in at all, and that's why with these sketch challenge videos I always like to do 2 layouts so that you can see different interpretations of the single sketch. So I decided to do a bit of a ruffly tissue papery thing, and I knew that a lot of it was going to actually be covered up by the photos because they would be in the center of the page. But just to make it easier, I just went all the way across. I could have saved time and just tissue papered the edges, but I felt like it was just easier to do the whole thing across. And to do this, my tip is to definitely use tape, not glue. It does not work with glue. It's not very easy to do. And to work, if you haven't done it before, it's much easier to work in like shorter strips of tissue paper rather than a massive like meter long strip, which I have impatiently tried before, and let me tell you, it doesn't work. If my sewing machine and I got along at this point, I would have really loved to have added a little bit of stitching in between the layers. I think that would have looked really nice and kind of ruffle them up a little bit. But you can see I've basically made my own Frankenstein background paper. And like I said before, this is a fantastic idea for using up scraps. You don't need any full sheets of paper if you don't really want to, and you can just piece it together. It's also a good way to use up the end of a paper pad or a certain collection that you've got, because all of the papers would coordinate, they'd all go together. So because I've got so much happening in that background with all of the different layers, I felt like I needed to mat my photos together. So I've just grabbed some white cardstock from my local stationery store, and I'm just matting my photos, and you can see just by adding that little white border, it's really made the photos pop, especially at the top there against the dark background. Then I decided to go with stars. So usually, like I said in the last video, when I draw these sketches, my default is to draw hearts, but you can always replace those hearts with different icons. You could do florals, circles, gears, dogs, stars, whatever takes your fancy, hexagons. So I felt like doing stars today, and I used what brand is it? I think it's EK Success. It's a star punch that punches about 5 stars out at the same time, these little ones. And then I just hand cut those larger stars as well, and I just wanted a few bigger ones as well as the little ones. And you can't go wrong with gold. So then it's time to stick down my photo, and I purposely didn't put any stickiness at the top because I wanted to tuck away some of my stars behind it, and I didn't want the frustration that I usually have of trying to pull up the photo to squeeze things in beforehand. I was actually forward thinking for once, which is a rarity for me. I'm going to be honest. I am a bit, sometimes I worry I'm a bit like a bull at a gate, and I just go all in with scrapbook layouts. I don't often ponder things, and I think it's okay to scrap either way. If you are someone who likes to place everything down first before you pick up the glue, that's perfectly fine too. It's just whatever works for you, and your patience level, I think, as well. I think that comes into play a lot. If I know in myself, if I placed everything down first before gluing, I would have a toddler tantrum that rivals the ones that Archie pulls every week, and there would be stars all over the floor because I wouldn't be able to get them back in the exact spot that I wanted them in. So that's just the way that I scrapbook, but there is definitely no right or wrong. So over here on the right, you can see on the sketch, the hearts are just concentrated to the top of the photo. But for this one, there was a bit of a blank area to the right in the middle of those photos. And it also helps hide a little bit of the join of those photos. So it makes it kind of go together a little bit easier. So I just stuck a big star down there, and I always like to do 3s. If you're ever in doubt, 3 is a great number for scrapbooking. There's something about it. Something about odd numbers make it rest easier on the eye. So if I'm ever doing like a larger element, like here I did those 3 large stars, I always go for a 3. It's also my lucky number because I'm born on the 3rd of the 3rd. And so, yeah, 3 is just the number that I tend to go for. So when in doubt, try a 3. I've had these stars for ages, and I really, really love them. I like the puffiness, I do love a little puffy sticker, but I also just like that they're not a solid star shape, if that makes sense. They're open, so they're not too heavy to add to a page, and I've been trying to use them up because it is my endeavour this year to use up some sticker sheets that I've been loving or hoarded or just have completely forgotten about, to tell you the truth. And so I think that star one is almost done. I know that all of the large stars are gone. I think it's just some of the smaller ones, so I might have to come up with some sort of layout to plonk them all onto and get them used. Same with these titles. Now, we've chatted a bit before about title word sticker things. How do you feel about them? I like the look of them. I appreciate them for how easy they make titling pages, but for some reason I'm a little bit apprehensive to use them. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I honestly don't know what it is, but I do shy away from using them a little bit. And so I have been trying to get through my stash, because quite often I will buy 2 of these, and so I'll have 2 packs of the exact same words, and that makes it twice as hard to use them up. I'm also using up these little hearts because they were the exact same colours as the stars that I used up. And then my journaling is just a very teeny little strip of journaling here. I didn't want to write too much because I have done other layouts of Archie. I think it's in the album before this, that talk about him being a bookworm and his love of books, and how happy that makes me, because I love books, and I have quite a big stash of them after collecting them for teaching and things, and it makes me happy. So I didn't have to do too much journaling. Time for some Hardy Shine. Shake, 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 shake your Hardy Shine, shake your Hardy Shine. Shaking it real good today. And then I love a bit of Hardy Shine on a dark background. I do. So I'm just adding that here, and then this layout is all done. So it came together quite quickly. The fiddly part was definitely constructing the layers together and then cutting out and outlining all of those stars. But I love the way it turned out, and it's a great way to try and use up if you have a particular sticker sheet that has a lot of the same shaped icon on it, like that star one. It's a great way to use them up. So here's a look at the sketch and how I expanded it to fit in 2 photos instead of just 1. So for this one, we're going to go all twisty-turvy. Twisty-turvy? What word was that? Twisty-turny? What word am I trying to say? I don't even know. We're turning it around. That's an easy way how to say it. And we're putting the sketch on its side. Now, these extremely attractive photos of Aaron and I were taken on Christmas Eve, and Santa's elves had been busy helping set up some things for Christmas Day. And my goodness, this was our first year being Santa's helpers, and boy oh boy, do things take way longer than you expect on Christmas Eve. It's like time slows down or speeds up. No, it slows down. And we were up until about 1:30 a.m. with drills and screwdrivers and all sorts of fun things. So these were photos that we took when everything was done and we could finally relax a little bit. So I have got that red background Christmas paper. I've been holding on to it for a while, for a couple of years. I don't know the brand, but it wouldn't be available anymore. And I've also got this vellum that has been sitting in my stash for a while. And vellum is something that I don't reach for. I really don't reach for it. And so I thought this might be a good opportunity to just rip it in half and just stick it down. So as you can see, I've got the sketch on the side turned so that I can keep an eye on what I'm up to. I've put the tape in the center of my vellum so that I can just cover it up with my photos. I know exactly where my photos are going to go, but be careful if you do use vellum that I think there is specific vellum tape that you can get. I don't have any of that, so instead I have to be creative and hide up all my adhesive use. But you can see I've got the vellum there to act in place of all of those paper layers that we did on the last page. Off camera, to save you watching me fiddle and have my big head in the way of the screen, I have cut out a ton of little hearts, and I decided to keep the hearts quite neutral because that background paper is very red. Red is a colour, it's definitely no purple. Purple we just don't talk of, but it's a colour that, I don't know, sometimes depending on how saturated it is, it can be a little bit tricky to work with. Let me know your thoughts on red. I do find it tricky when it's this real like fire engine punchy red to work with, unless I've got a really like playful bright photo, and so I wanted to keep the rest of it quite tame because the photos themselves aren't, apart from my orange hair, there's not a lot of colour going on in them, but I just wanted to keep things not too crazy. So then I realised that I wanted to have a little bit of a paper ruffly edge on the right hand side as well, and so I was going to use the grey, but then a happy accident turned it over and realised that I liked the other side better. So that's always a nice surprise when you plan to do something and then it takes its own little path in a different way, and then just trimming off the excess over here. But let me know if you've been enjoying the Sketch Challenge series and if you've had a go at any of the sketches. I am working on a sketchy something at the moment, but it probably won't be out until next year. But I am working on a little sketchy side project. That's all I'll say there. And this word, sometimes with words, I just don't know when I'm going to use them. And when I saw this exhale, I didn't know when I was going to use that, and I'm glad that I had them on my desk as part of my little container of stickers that I always check through first when doing a page, because it was the perfect title for this layout. Because my goodness, were we exhausted. We were so tired. And then the next day, I'm pretty sure we had did we do 3 Christmases on that one day? I can't even remember. It was only last Christmas, but I can't remember. I know we had to be somewhere at 8 o'clock in the morning. So yes, it's always fun to have a late night before that. The title wasn't standing out enough for me. I tried white, I tried black, and it just wasn't working. So I went with blue, because when in doubt, go with an extremely bright colour that contradicts everything that you've said about keeping the rest of the layout nice and pale. But I think when you have a background that's covered in text and you're putting more text over the top, you need to make it punchy, otherwise it's just going to fade into the background. And I couldn't use black because the corner of the photo was quite dark. So blue, this is a blue that I feel like it goes with everything. It's kind of like a cornflower blue, I guess you could say. And I just think it works with any layout and any colour scheme. So when I'm struggling with something, I always just reach for it. I also grabbed some wood veneer hearts. I rediscovered my large container of wood veneer recently, and so I've been trying to use up a lot of shapes from there. I'm using glossy accents today because the tip is really nice and thin, and this was during my phase of doing glossy accents on a lot of titles of layouts, and so you'll see in a little moment here I think I glossy accent this title, or maybe I don't. Maybe I do the hearts. I think I do the hearts. I decided we needed more red, more punchy red, and more blue, because the blue was looking like it didn't belong at all. And an easy way to change that is to just grab your paint pen and colour in some wood veneer hearts, or even just doodle some little hearts. And so I'm just going through. I haven't primed them in any way. They're not gessoed. They're just paint pens straight onto the wood veneer. Paint pens are such a versatile mixed media product to have in your stash. However, they are addictive and they multiply very easily, and they're not the cheapest of things. So my tip is to definitely invest in a black and a white, and then maybe pick 2 or 3 colors that you really love and that you think you'll use often, and try and grab like a medium tip, not too thick, not too thin, so you can still do a range of techniques. I did glossy accent my title off camera, and I did glossy accent the wood veneer hearts, you can see, and I have a feeling I put my finger through one of them in a moment. We will see if my memory serves correctly. I did film this last month, and so I'm just trying to remember what I did. I do remember having to redo something. Is it here when I'm holding it? Do I put it in there? Or maybe it's just after and I didn't get it on camera. But here's the finished page. So you can see this is the exact same sketch, but it's just turned on its side and therefore squished vertically, horizontally. It's squished sideways, and so everything fits in. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back with another sketch challenge either next month or the month after. I'm trying to have them every month or second month, and I would love to see what you do if you do choose to. Oh, here we go. There we go. I put the sketch right on top and I smudged that blue heart, and off camera I fixed it up. Thanks for tuning in today, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.